Next on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll visit 6 operations that have made stewardship and conservation a priority as we highlight the 2017 winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Protecting and improving the environment has long been the focus of America's foremost land stewards, farmers and ranchers. Each year, the Environmental Stewardship Award program recognizes the nation's best cattle and livestock operations and their stewardship and conservation efforts. The 6 regional winners are all dedicated to maintaining and improving their lands to ensure that they're productive for future generations. So today, we're going to share their stories with you. We begin in Region 2 with a visit to the winning operation from South Carolina.
Stretching across 2,300 acres along the Broad River in South Carolina, Blue Lake Farm is now in the hands of the 5th and 6th generations. Rusty and Jesse Thompson, along with their son Russ, work together to manage timber, produce hay, grow turkeys, and raise high-quality cattle.
Blue Lake Farm is a farm that encompasses my wife, myself, and my oldest son primarily. And he mainly does the turkeys and helps us out with the cattle.
Well, I came here in 1977 when I married into the family. And immediately my husband and I got into row cropping, and a couple of years later we got into cattle. So we've had an experience of working together side by side on everything we've done out here.
Both Rusty and Jesse had long careers off the farm. Rusty was a Clemson livestock extension specialist, and Jesse worked for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Those experiences helped shape their approach to making improvements on their own land.
It's amazing how their education has made it a much better place.
We've just tried to do things right as far as the environment goes and keeping the farm on good soil, and we're trying to reduce some things that have been done to the farm in the past that we need to try to improve on.
Early on, the Thompsons moved away from traditional row crops and shifted to pasture and no-till hay production to best use their sandy soils, minimize erosion, and support their crossbred cow-calf operation.
We try to run around 200 mama cows. We're usually a little bit less than that because of culling and things like that, but we try to stick around that 200 mark. We have 2 loads of cattle primarily from that 200 cow operation, and we sell the best and feed the rest. And we've done really well over the years with the cattle that go to the feedlot as well as the cattle that we sell here off the farm.
Each year, the Thompsons reseed their pastures and control weeds to maximize grass production. And with the help of solar-powered electric fencing, their cow-calf pairs are rotated through 30 grazing units.
Well, our grazing plan, we try to monitor our pastures when our cattle are in it, and we monitor the height of the grass, and when the grass gets to be a certain height, then we move them to the next paddock.
We can do pretty good by topping the pastures in a good fast rotation and letting the cattle get what I call the icing off the cake, and they don't have to dig down and eat so much of the cake, so they can just get the icing and go on around for different paddocks and move them around pretty quickly, and that makes the calves grow better.
Blue Lake Farm includes more than 4 miles of frontage on the Broad River as well as several streams. So Rusty and Jesse have taken action to protect water quality. They've established wide buffer areas, installed 45 concrete water troughs, and built 3 stabilized stream crossings.
Our stream banks, we try to protect them with fencing. We have use exclusion fence up around most of our creeks. When we put in our watering systems, that was one thing we tried to do, was to keep our cattle out of the creeks and the streams.
We've put so many lines underground. I would hate to know how many miles of lines, total lines we have in the ground, but we service most of our water needs from Well, I can't say that we have any left that we don't service from the water lines.
The recent thing that they've done here is add the water troughs and the pipelines, in conjunction with that, fencing out the surface water so that the cows can't get into the creeks and the stuff, and therefore it keeps surface water clean, and the cows have clean water to drink.
Beyond the cattle, the forests on the farm are closely managed for both income and wildlife habitat. The Thompsons have placed fire breaks around their timberland and planted food plots to enhance wildlife. And their turkey operation fits the farm needs, not only providing income, but a consistent source of turkey litter as fertilizer.
The cattle, everything works together. It's kind of like a cycle. The time we need to put out litter is the time we need it on our pastures or on our hay fields, and the cattle harvest the grass, and it just seems to just work perfect together.
They're doing the sustainable things. The things that we see, like the water quality projects that they have here, protecting surface water, adhering to the waste management plan when they have their turkey operations, when they are spreading the litter for that as an alternative fertilizer source. All of those things speak to the stewardship at this place, and they have an eye toward the future, and they're looking to maintain the productivity of this land.
Always willing to share their conservation knowledge with others, the Thompson family never stops looking for conservation and farming practices that will help them responsibly care for their cattle and their land.
Stewardship is just managing the God-given gift that we've been given. I don't think any of us own the property. I think it's all owned by the good Lord, and He just encourages us to take care of what He's given us, and I appreciate the fact that He'll let us do that.
The land is our responsibility to take care of, to pass it on to the next generation. And I think it's our job to do the best that we can to protect what has been given to us to take care of. The land, the rivers, the timber, and the cattle. So, I mean, I think it's our job to look after everything.
One by one, we're highlighting the 2017 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award. And now, let's head to Region 3 and meet the winning family from Iowa.
For more than a century, the Smith family has been farming in northwest Iowa. Seth Smith and his father Lynn work side by side on this diversified crop and livestock operation.
We've got a feedlot, a cow-calf herd, custom swine finishing, corn and soybeans, oats and alfalfa, and some organic crops on about 1/3 of the acres.
My dad's dad came here from Illinois, and they settled over by a little bit west of here. And so they've been there ever since. I'm not positive about the numbers. I think it's like 130 years that Smiths have put a crop in.
For the Smith family, one goal is to minimize off-farm inputs as much as possible. Nutrient management is key, keeping those vital resources from leaving the farm, which improves productivity while also protecting the environment.
When you're purchasing nutrients to raise a corn crop or a soybean crop or an alfalfa crop, whatever it may be, yeah, why on earth, what would be the reason to want to let it leave? So I guess we do the best job that we know how to hold those here.
The farm feedlots play a vital role in this process by providing nutrients from a natural source. Manure is composted on site and then applied to the fields and pastures as fertilizer. One of the Smiths' 2 feedlot locations overlooks the Raccoon River, which provides a daily reminder of the importance of environmental stewardship. The Smiths installed a lagoon there to help capture wastewater.
As the years went by, we had put quite a few improvements into the place, so when it came down to the time, all right, well now we need to build a lagoon or abandon the feedlot, well we had felt like we had too much invested in it just to leave it, so we opted for the lagoon, which has turned out to be good.
We've taken all the runoff, all is collected into settling basins, and then it goes into a lagoon, and then it's irrigated, it's put on the cropland. That was kind of a big thing for us to do, and you know, at the time it was kind of, well, we're going to stay in the business, we need to do this, and so that's why we went ahead and did it.
On the cow-calf side, the Smiths took their most fragile ground out of row crop production and converted it to pasture, saving soil and greatly reducing nitrogen and phosphorus runoff.
Financially, it makes sense for us to do that because we felt we could get more use out of it. It's kind of the oddball thing to do because there's not a lot of grazed ground around here. If anything, pastures have been getting converted back to tillable farmland instead of the other way.
The cow-calf operation has been a good fix for us. It's a little bit of a challenge finding pasture right here in this area because so much of it is used in row crop, but the cow-calf part has been a very good fit for us.
The Smiths implemented a rotational grazing plan designed to give their pastures plenty of rest, which optimizes soil health and plant growth.
We put the cattle in the pasture, and then after a period of time, depending of course on the rainfall, when the grass gets to a certain condition, then we'll pull them off and move them on to the next pasture to allow that grass to come back.
It's amazing how some of this ground for years, when there was no cows in it prior to us having it, it barely grew. A lot of it, the grass only ever got this tall. And now that we're grazing it, we're seeing, our amount of biomass that we're producing and tons of forage has increased greatly since we've been, I guess, prescription grazing or, grazing with a purpose.
Well, they're just great stewards of the land, and it's going to be generational. And they're always willing to teach and always willing to learn. That's a good combination to have.
The Smith family is always looking for ways to share their stewardship story. They provide the beef for the burgers served at a nearby restaurant, and the menu helps educate consumers about the Smith farm and its environmental practices.
People realize that meat they're eating came right, 10 miles away, and we more than welcome those customers to come out and check out the place. Seth and I both feel that if we have closed doors, it looks like we're hiding something. So we're always very welcoming to having people come out and just looking at our daily operations so they can get a first-hand look at what goes on in a farming operation.
Seth and Etta are the 5th generation to work this land. They know the stewardship practices they implement today will help ensure their farm is around for generations to come.
Every year we seem to implement something else or try something new and see what the benefits are of it, but no, it's never okay, we're here now, this is how we're going to do it. There's always learning, and there's always building upon that to keep trying to do better.
I feel like we owe that to the generations prior to us that did a lot of these things that that we get to enjoy, and it's our job to continue that, to pass that on so that things can eternally, every generation that comes along makes things a little better instead of a little worse. That's very important because that's how operations like this and so many around us, have pushed on for so many years and continue to grow and expand and do well.
These Environmental Stewardship Award winners are helping to make a difference every day. To join them as a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Still to come on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll introduce you to the final 4 winners of the 2017 Environmental Stewardship Award, including a family that's successfully managing more than 200,000 acres in West Texas. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Public land issues are somewhat unique.
The Public Lands Council is valuable to the ranchers because it's someone out there that's speaking their language.
Somebody has to communicate with the agencies, the BLM, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife.
Well, the Public Lands Council has provided incredible information and help, I think, to all members of the Congress.
Everything from water rights to endangered species to wildfire to the need to actively manage the lands through grazing.
And there's always a new battle coming up.
The people on the land know much better what's good for them, their land, and their community than anybody in Washington ever will or ever has.
So for them to have someone who is out there helping send their message and helping them keep their industry alive, that's super important for them.
There's no way you can really put a value on what they do for us. So having someone in Washington, D.C., a voice for the industry, a voice for public land ranching, such as PLC, Public Lands Council, is huge.
Welcome back. Cattle producers can face all kinds of challenges when it comes to protecting the environment. But they all have a common goal: leaving the land better than they found it. Today, we're taking a look at the 2017 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Let's visit the Region 4 award recipients from Texas.
It's not long after sunrise in West Texas, and the Sterling family is working together to move their cows. The Sterling Cattle Company was started by J.M. Sterling in 1954. Today, the operation is led by J.M.'s son Jimmy and his wife Theresa, with help from their 3 daughters and their families.
We're at our home ranch here in Howard County. This is the ranch that I was raised on, and it's been in my family for 63 years. We're cow-calf people. We have an Angus cow base, and we breed many of our cows to Akaushi bulls.
We have recently, 6 years ago, implemented the Akaushi breed. So about 60% of our cow herd, 65%, we put Akaushi, full-blood Akaushi bulls on them. So they have half-blood babies, and we market those back to Hart brand, and they've increased our marbling.
In addition to innovating with a new cattle breed, the Sterling family has expanded their operation by adding leased properties to their deeded acres.
Our home ranch is approximately 12,000 acres, and we lease another 200,000 acres from landlords that some of them we have leased from for 35 years. Some of them 20 years, and then some university lands that we've had 10 or 12 years now. And we get along real well with our landlords. I encourage them to come out at least once a year.
Jimmy's quoted to me many times that when he takes over a ranch that he leases, he wants it to turn out to be a better ranch than what he found it. If that means having better fences, better pastures, better livestock water, improve the native grasses that are on the ranch, he strives very hard to make those improvements.
The list of improvements made by the Sterling family is long. They've put up 20 miles of fencing, drilled new wells, and installed solar-powered pumps on 18 water troughs to better manage grazing.
We have water development projects that are vital, especially in Andrews County, those big ranches where the water was so few and far between and unpredictable, water that you just couldn't count on. And we were able to add in new lines, put troughs in areas that the cows really just didn't go to because they couldn't water in those areas. It was too far of a walk.
We try to develop the water to spread the grazing out, and if you can add 4 more waters, well, that's just like almost doubling the capacity of that pasture.
With limited rainfall, drought is a constant threat in West Texas. So one key to sustaining the grass and the cow herd is the Sterling family's rotational grazing program. Tara closely manages the grazing plan and helps guide the movement of the cattle.
All of our ranches, all of our pastures are in a rotation system, and it's not a strict 30-day or 90-day or anything. It's more of an observing rotation system. And with that, by resting the pastures, you grow your good grasses and increase your good grasses. If you do not rotate, your good grasses tend to die out. And we want to promote our good grasses.
Perhaps the biggest effort is the removal of invasive prickly pear and mesquite. The Sterlings have transformed more than 25,000 acres of their land using both aerial spraying and mechanical treatments to control brush.
When we got this ranch, it was heavily covered in mesquite. The equip projects, we grub mesquite with an excavator, then rake it and seed behind that. And that's worked pretty well for us. And we've cleared lots of land and grown a lot of grass doing that, increased our weaning weights and capacity, and it's really been a good program for us.
When you get rid of the brush, brush is taking up moisture from the property, and then the ultimate goal is to grow more grass for your cattle. And so by cleaning up this brush and killing it out, we grow more grass, and they can have more grass and a higher stocking rate.
He doesn't take all the brush off of a pasture. He'll try to leave some brush for cover for his wildlife. So, you know, he's trying to improve his pastures, improve the quality of his beef, but at the same time, you know, he's getting a secondary impact out of it, which is good, and that's improving wildlife habitat.
We've seen an increase in wildlife. We've cleared areas for the antelope, and they like very open country, and then we've drawn brush strips for the deer, the white-tailed deer here in this area, and increased the forbs for them to graze on.
With a focus on growing a profitable operation for today and tomorrow, the future of the Sterling Cattle Company looks bright. The Sterlings are working together to build a family legacy of outstanding care of the land.
Stewardship is passed on from generation to generation. Our family is close, and we view our responsibilities on the ranch as taking care of God's property. It's just in our care for the moment. And if I don't do the very best I can, who did I let down?
You have to do it for the long term, and being a steward of the land, that is your goal is to improve the land. And by doing that, you're improving your cattle and your total production. And that's our goal, is to improve the cattle and improve the country at the same time.
If you'd like to find out more about the Environmental Stewardship Award winners, see photos and videos, or even learn how to nominate someone for the award next year, visit the website environmentalstewardship.org. We'll be back with more Environmental Stewardship Award winners right after this. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's time to blaze a trail to Phoenix. Join me, Stormy Warren from SiriusXM's The Highway, and see the biggest and the best cattle industry trade show. Explore over 350 displays covering more than 6 acres. Plus, have a laugh or two with funny man Bill Engvall at the Cowboy Comedy Club. All that and so much more are on tap for the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, January 31st through February 2nd. Mark your calendar now. You can find out more and get registered at beefusa.org.
The secret to finding more buyers for your cattle is no longer a secret. CattleExchange.com is like no other site. It brings the greater ease of use, detailed information, and searchability found in sites like Cars.com and Autotrader.com to the cattle industry. Upload photos and video to attract more buyers and share greater detail in your listing. Cattle buyers and sellers are connecting in ways they never imagined. Go to www.cattle-exchange.com and discover the secret to better selling.
Welcome back as we continue our look at the 6 Environmental Stewardship Regional Award winners for 2017. The desire to leave the land better than they found it is a common trait among cattle producers, and you see that in action with the families we're highlighting today. Let's head to Region 5 and the winning operation in Colorado.
On the Flying Diamond Ranch in eastern Colorado, the Johnson family rides out, gathers cows and calves, and then works together to get the branding done. It's a family tradition that goes back more than a century.
Our family's been here for 110 years in eastern Colorado. My great-grandfather trailed cattle through here in the 1800s. He was a Kansas rancher, and bank had foreclosed on the original place out here. Asked my great-grandfather to come out and manage the ranch. He did that for a year or two and then assumed the loan, and we've been here for 110 years.
Charles Collins later served as the national president of the Cattlemen's Association. The ranch he started is led today by his great-grandson Scott Johnson and his wife Jean, with the active help and ownership of their 4 kids and their families.
The operation's expanded here recently as my siblings and myself have, kind of grown up. So the operation has expanded in the last, 5 years. And now we have, not only this place here in Cheyenne County, but multiple other leases and ranches around the state and region.
We're now on about 50,000 acres, 25,000 deeded.
The Johnson family runs about 1,000 composite breed cows on the short grass and sand sage prairie of eastern Colorado. Back in 1990, Scott Johnson adopted a holistic approach to managing the ranch.
It's cattle, ranch, and family. I see it all. And you know, we can't be real strong in one area and weak in another. We see it all as one whole, and we try to balance the whole deal.
You know, you're always wondering, what can we do better? In any business, I think if you fall asleep and start thinking everything's wonderful, you could lose it. So we're all of us thinking, you know, what can we do to improve?
One major improvement Scott made was moving to a high-density, low-frequency grazing system. The Johnsons added over 100 miles of fencing to divide their pastures. Now the grasslands are used more fully, and yet are rested more than 95% of the time.
We think this grazing is a real plus to us. It used to be we'd have cattle, could be in 3,000 acres. Now a bunch is in a tenth of that, 320 acres.
From herd impact and giving long recovery periods, I think you truly do increase the productivity of your ground. So not only are you utilizing more, but you're increasing productivity. So now we're getting more pounds off the acres. Now we're getting into something that has an economical benefit to us. And we're getting that economical benefit by doing ecological things that are improving the rangeland.
I think the biggest thing is just that rest you're giving it. So, a piece of ground's not getting grazed for 355 days or 360 days. And that allows it, to revitalize quicker and better, especially in those years of drought that we've had.
God put grasslands around here, and cattle, they're very happy on grasslands. That's where they're supposed to be. So, I stand firmly that cattle ranching is absolutely good for this environment.
With average precipitation of just 13 inches per year, the Johnsons have an overall goal of working with nature. They've adjusted their calving season to better fit their available forage and established key grazing areas to closely monitor grazing impact. They've also limited cattle access to riparian areas and created wide buffer zones to restore and protect the creeks that cross their lands. And they've installed more than 20 miles of pipeline to provide fresh water at the center of each grazing cell.
To put the grazing system in place, we had to put a lot of water in place and pipe a lot of water so that we could set up kind of the cells center wagon wheel system. I think that allows dispersal across the ranch of our grazing and for some wildlife.
Put it all together and it's clear. At the Flying Diamond Ranch, they understand how healthy cattle and healthy rangelands work together. And the Johnson family is always thinking ahead to the future generations that will one day live and work on this land.
My family all along has understood that what we really have out here, what we've been entrusted with, is the natural resources. It's pretty special, and if you work with it and you listen to it and you do what's in its best interest, it'll take care of you. It's taken care of us for 110 years. If we want this to continue for multiple more generations, the greatest asset is the land. You got to take care of the land, you got to be good to the land.
It really does come down to a mindset of this ranch is not for me. This ranch is for all of us and for the next generation. So it's a big responsibility.
It means everything to me. As the mother, I see such a value in our way of life, our culture, and it's something, that each generation has built upon and given to the next, and that's so special.
I'm a family guy, and to me, I am proudest of our 4 kids and their 4 spouses in the next generation, and I just think we're gonna do a good job out here, environmentally speaking, in the future. I think we're well prepared and well positioned to do things right.
If you'd like to stay up to date with what's happening with NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, you can find us on Facebook. We keep you posted with information about upcoming shows, farms and ranches we're visiting around the country, and we share legacy photos too. So check us out on Facebook. We'll be back with more Cattlemen to Cattlemen right after this.
Say goodbye to your toughest pasture and rangeland weeds for good. Because one product offers season-long control, handles the widest spectrum of broadleaf weeds, and clears the way for increased forage with greater grazing flexibility. So you get more beef per acre at a cost that can't be beat. It's Grazon Next HL herbicide, and if it's in your pastures, plain and simple, weeds won't be.
Hi everybody, Russell Nimitz here, inviting you to pack your boots and join me here in sunny Phoenix, Arizona for the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, January 31st through February 2nd. As always, the convention will be packed full of informational and educational workshops, the huge NCBA Trade Show, plus outstanding entertainment like the Cowboy Comedy Club featuring comedian Bill Engvall. I'll be there and I hope you'll join me. Let's blaze a trail to Arizona by visiting beefusa.org.
Welcome back. Every day, cattlemen and women care for their land and their animals. They do so because they're committed to leaving what they have better than they found it. We're featuring the 2017 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Let's take you to Arizona to see the Region 6 award winner.
Just down the road from Winslow, Arizona, you'll find Chevron Butte Ranch, named for the distinctive landmark which dominates the skyline. The Ohako family is recognized as having one of the largest working cattle ranches in Arizona.
This ranch is about 60-some thousand acres. There's about 26,000, almost 27,000 deeded, over 10,000 in state leases, and the forest allotment is 27,000 acres.
We're cow-calf operators. They had Herefords originally, and they've switched over to mainly Angus and black baldy cattle. The calves are born in March and they're usually sold in November.
Jim and Jeannie Ohako are the third generation to ranch on this land. Jim's grandfather started the operation back in 1898, but he didn't raise cattle at the time.
Jim's grandfather had sheep on this outfit for most of his lifetime, and then when Jim's father took over, he did the transition from sheep to cattle.
He started switching over to cattle because they couldn't find any sheepers. There was more cowboys around than sheepers, and that's one of the big reasons they did.
Conservation planning has been a part of this outfit from the beginning. Most projects are designed to improve water resources, since this part of Arizona averages just 16 inches of rain a year.
Arizona's kind of a dry state, so we've got a lot of challenges with drought. So anything that can help with water, that's probably your most important thing of any operation is your water. We've done a lot of projects with that to improve the water systems.
Jim has worked alongside state and federal agencies to improve the ranch for cattle grazing and wildlife. One project restored around 14,000 acres of grasslands by removing invasive juniper.
We've added to what my dad did. We've done quite a few thousand acres of juniper eradication, and it's helped immensely. When I was a boy, we burned acre after acre of juniper trees that he'd chained over, but we don't have to do that anymore. We're using a new machine. It grinds the juniper completely up, just leaves mulch. And after some of the juniper eradication, it increased our grasses 30 to 40%. So it made a big difference.
But the biggest project, by far, was the installation of the High Point well, which allowed water distribution to all corners of the operation.
We decided to put the storage tank, it's a 100,000-gallon storage tank, on top of the highest mesa around here, so that's why it got the name High Point.
It was initially just going to be another well with a storage tank and a little bit of pipeline off of it. And before we knew it, we ended up with over 40 miles of pipeline and over 30 drinkers on it.
It took us almost 10 years. Kevin and I were about the two working on it, and there was others from time to time, but it was 3 to 5 miles a year, and it took us basically 10 years, and we have what we have today. We've got water to every corner of the ranch, from one end of the ranch to the other now. So if it doesn't rain, we can always pump the water.
Our cattle, the weights improved on them, the heavier weights, because the cattle didn't have to walk so far to water. And usually if they didn't have the water, the area around any watering hole, the vegetation was trampled because that's where they had to stay to water. And they couldn't graze out very far to get water. So that's made a tremendous difference as far as the vegetation and improvement of the land.
Jim has done a
wonderful job putting this pipeline in and putting it in a manner that it provides water year-round, even during our cold periods in the winter. So, you know, wildlife is able to drink out here year-round anywhere on this ranch.
We made an agreement with Arizona Game and Fish that we would leave them on year-round, and that keeps the wildlife spread out too. It's just a win-win situation for everybody, for the environment, the wildlife, the cattle. Everything is done better because of that water project.
At Chevron Butte Ranch, the gates are open to visitors, and the public is allowed nearly unlimited access to the land during hunting seasons.
This ranch is just one of those jewels that has a lot of good habitat, and it definitely highlights the fact that wildlife and ranching can coexist and coexist well.
Jim also shares his time and knowledge in a variety of ways off the ranch, including serving as president of the Arizona Cattle Growers Association.
He's a busy man. I don't know how he does it. You know, he works full time, works 7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days, and yet he's still on committee after committee after committee, and when somebody asks him to do something, he doesn't say no.
He always puts this outfit above his own needs. That's ultimate commitment in my view. And he always sees to the needs of this place and whatever lives here prior to his own needs.
The Oaxaco family has over a century of experience caring for the landscapes in eastern Arizona. Their ongoing stewardship efforts will ensure that Chevron Butte Ranch is around for future generations.
Jim's always been under the philosophy that his grandfather left it better for his father left it better for him, and he wants to leave it better for the next generation. So, you know, from day one since I've known him, he's always improved whatever he's had, and he's tried to make it better, and you can see that in what he's done over his lifetime.
Two things in life that I've always wanted to do, and I think I've accomplished them mostly, is to have quality cattle, and number two is to help the environment or the habitat. So, and I think we've done that. The job's not done. We always can improve. We always learn from our past and keep on improving.
Want to rewatch an episode of Cattlemen to Cattlemen or catch up on anything you've missed? Then visit our YouTube page. You'll find replays of all of our shows filled with educational segments and producer profiles from around the country. So check us out at youtube.com/Cattlemen to Cattlemen. We'll be back with more right after this.
What does it mean to be an American cattleman? It means you have what it takes where it counts, on the inside. At Ritchie, we understand that. It's what's on the inside that defines us. We share the same values: ingenuity, commitment, sense of pride. These are the values that built this country. They're the values that built this company. Ritchie, proud to be a partner to the American cattlemen since 1921.
Welcome back. We're bringing you some great stories about conservation as we highlight the 2017 Environmental Stewardship Award winners. Now, let's visit Kansas for the Region 7 winner.
The Flint Hills region of the Tallgrass Prairie is home to Munson Angus farms. The Munson family has been a fixture in this part of Kansas for almost 150 years.
You get west of Junction City and I think you find out that you're related to almost everybody. Mothers or fathers or someone along the grandfathers or grandmothers, that type of thing. But yes, we have been in the same location. My great-granddad started out just west of Junction City in 1869.
Chuck and Deanna Munson are the current owners, and counting their grandchildren, there have been 6 generations of Munson family members to live on and work this land. Today, Munson Angus is a thriving farm built on their pasture-to-plate business model.
I'd call us a diversified operation. We have both Angus cattle herd and a small farm feedlot, and also a cropping operation for cattle feed, and then also some cash crops.
You certainly learn to realize that quantity is not nearly as important as quality, and doing it the right way. And that's always been I think, the #1 philosophy of the Munson family and the product that's produced.
The Munsons believe that to raise top-quality beef, you need the best cattle. Their registered Angus herd started in the 1920s, and the genetics from those original animals can still be found in the cattle grazing the land today.
And they go back to some of the original of Andy Schuler, who was a well known in the Angus business. That's how our herd got started. Now we're going almost up to 65 years now that we've had the Angus business.
We like to think now that our calves almost look like clones because of they're such genetic uniformity.
Over the years, the Munsons have worked with state and local agencies to improve the health of the land. They implemented a rotational grazing system to protect their valuable grass resources. On the crop side, the Munsons switched from conventional tillage to a no-till system to reduce erosion and improve soil health.
One of the main things we've done is went to no-till, and that's been a benefit both from less tillage needed and labor on that and expense on that part of it, and also it certainly helped conserve moisture.
One of the things that has always impressed me has been their care for the environment and the natural resources. They're always concerned as much about taking care of the resource as making a profit. If something was going to bring more profit, but at the expense of the natural resources and the environment, they wouldn't do it.
In 2006, the nearby Smoky Hill River was identified as an area of concern for erosion. Chuck worked to unite neighboring landowners along the river to apply for stream bank stabilization funding to help address this critical issue.
We were losing up to 5 acres of land a year to stream bank erosion along the river banks, and until this project was available and came along, why we didn't have much choice but just to watch the land kind of cave in the river.
Chuck was one of the first ones in the office to sign up. He helped us organize meetings to talk about these projects. They have a great love for the Flint Hills and for the work that they do here in it. That has always stood out in my mind as kind of an example for how people ought to conduct themselves, and it's been a great pleasure to work with them.
The difference was tremendous. I mean, we stopped the erosion, we stopped the eating of the riverbank, we stopped from losing trees, and the best part about it, we saved valuable farm ground that would have went right down into the river, which river bottom farm ground around here is very valuable, and we saved a lot of it by doing that.
The ranch's innovative pasture-to-plate philosophy has come full circle with the opening of Munson's Prime in Junction City. Their restaurant is a unique way for the family to not only serve prime beef, but also share their story with the public.
It was totally open with the concept of, I like to say, to showcase the Munson meat. That is definitely a part of it. And to help the world to understand what good livestock production is like, what agriculture of today is like, and just to educate to a great degree also.
You can even see the Munsons' love for the land in their own backyard. Deanna has an extensive garden that features many plants native to Kansas. The Munson family is a prime example of how a cattle operation can be managed in a sustainable way while still being profitable, thanks to hard work, innovation, and dedication.
There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears involved in putting the place together and keeping it going, and it's an everyday job, and it's going to continue to be.
We're not a fly-by-night type of business. We've been in the Angus business going on over 60 years, so we didn't come in yesterday, and we're not going to be gone tomorrow.
The Munson family has always placed extremely high emphasis on the environmental and stewardship issues, not just from wanting to treat the world right, but that's what it takes to be successful doing the type of business that we attempt to do. I will be very surprised if Munson Angus Farms is not still here 50 years, 100 years from now.
Ranchers in Kansas and all across the United States are making a difference and protecting the environment. You can see their stories again and learn how to nominate someone for the award next year by visiting the website environmentalstewardship.org. One of these Regional Stewardship Award winners will be named the national winner at the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show coming up in Phoenix at the end of this month. The convention is an outstanding place to share beef industry success stories like these, to network with your fellow cattlemen and women, and to gather ideas, education, and information that will help your cattle business for years to come. So join us in Phoenix. It's not too late. The convention gets rolling on January 31st and continues through February 2nd. All the details can be found on the website ncba.org. I'll be there, and I hope to see you there too. Up next, it's time once again for our good friend Baxter Black. We'll be right back.
Out here, we begin each new day the same way, by saddling up and heading out to interrogate some of the world's toughest secret keepers. They're never gonna tell us that they don't feel right. And that's one secret we just can't afford to have between us. I know when we find them, we can fix them. Because if there's one thing better than having a secret, it's having a secret weapon. It's a Prevo.
When a new calf hits the ground, his clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives him his best odds, but if he doesn't get any, his time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. Fill them with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Get yours at oxfordag.com. Costs less than a dead calf.
Did you know that Prefert makes over 1,000 different farm, ranch, and rodeo items? And now, thanks to Prefert Direct, it's easier than ever before to get access to every item Prefert makes delivered direct to your local dealer. For more information about Prefert Direct, visit us at prefert.com. Prefert, America's #1 name in farm, ranch, and rodeo.
The Lord spoke to the heavy hearts that stood with hats in hand. Your sadness pains me deeply, and I know you'll miss this man. But it's true what you've been hearing. Heaven is a real place, and that's no small consolation. You should use that fact to face the emptiness that his parting left, that seeps into your bones, and draw on it to ease your pain. For he is not alone. You see, all his friends are up here, all his loved ones too. Because it wouldn't be a heaven without each one of you. And heaven for a cowboy is just what you might expect. It's horses that need tuning up and heifers that need checked. It's long rides with a purpose and a code that lights the way. And a satisfying reason to get up every day. It's the ranch he's always dreamed of and never knew he'd find. And if you think about it, you can see it in your mind, him leaning in the saddle with his old hat on his head. Contentment set up on his face like blankets on a bed. And the leather creaks a little as he shifts there in the seat, and the bit chains give a jingle when his pony switches feet. And you somehow get the feeling that he's sitting on a throne, gazing out on paradise, just like it was his own. I can promise you he's happy, though I know you can't pretend you're glad he made the journey. It's too hard to comprehend. The earthly way you look at things can never satisfy your lack of understanding for the answer to the why. So, I offer this small comfort to put your grief to rest. I only take the top hands, because my crew's the very best. And I know it might seem selfish to friends and next of kin, but I needed one more cowboy, and Billy fit right in. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. We always enjoy our visits with you. Stay with us. We'll have more when we come back.
Tough fence will last 3 times longer and is 4 times stronger than low tensile fencing. High tensile wire, solid vertical stays, and tight fixed knots all provide superior strength. You will use fewer posts, saving time, labor, and money. Protect your investment for generations with Stay Tough Fence. Stay strong, stay tight, stay tough.
Welcome back. For this week's Legacy Photos, let's take a look at some beautiful images from our Environmental Stewardship award-winning operations. Now don't forget, one of these Regional Stewardship Award winners will be named the national winner at the Cattle Industry Convention coming up in Phoenix, Arizona. There's still time for you to go to the convention for just one day or for the whole event. There will be sunshine, warm weather, and a great opportunity to learn, to check out the huge NCBA trade show, and to celebrate our outstanding industry. So join me and a few thousand of my friends in Phoenix. Get details at the website ncba.org. Well, that's all for this special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.